I never imagined my daughter's secret life would unravel our perfect family, exposing a truth far darker than any nightmare. Part 1. The Unsettling Silence. My name is Elena, and I'm 45 years old. My life, until recently, was a carefully constructed mosaic of suburban bliss. A loving husband, Mark, a successful career as a graphic designer, and our beautiful, seemingly perfect daughter, Sofia. Sofia at 16 was the light of our lives. She was bright, artistic, and always had a smile that could melt glaciers, or so I thought. The first crack in our perfect facade appeared subtly, almost imperceptibly, like a hairline fracture in a priceless vase. It began with silence. Not the comfortable, companionable silence of a family at peace, but a heavy, unsettling quiet that permeated our home. Sofia, once a chatterbox, became withdrawn. Her vibrant laughter, a constant melody in our home, was replaced by hushed whispers, on her phone always ending abruptly when I entered the room. Her eyes, once so open and expressive, now held a guarded, distant look. I tried to talk to her, of course. "Is everything all right, sweetheart? You seem a little quiet lately?" She'd offer a dismissive shrug, a mumbled, "I'm fine, Mom," and retreat further into her shell. Mark, ever the optimist, attributed it to typical teenage angst. "She's just growing up, Elena. Give her space." But my maternal instincts screamed. Otherwise, this wasn't just teenage moodiness. This was something deeper, something unsettling. Started noticing other things. Her once meticulous room became a chaotic mess, clothes strewn everywhere, school books piled haphazardly. She'd sneak out at night, returning before dawn, her eyes bloodshot and a faint, unfamiliar scent clinging to her clothes. When I confronted her, she'd lash out a venomous anger I'd never seen before. "You're suffocating me, Mom. I need my privacy." Her words stung, but the fear in her eyes was what truly terrified me. It was a fear I couldn't quite place. A fear that hinted at a secret far too heavy for a 16-year-old to carry alone. I felt a growing chasm between us, a silent battle being waged in the heart of our home. The perfect mosaic was crumbling, piece by agonizing piece, and I was powerless to stop it. The unease gnawed at me, a constant dull ache in my chest. I found myself replaying every interaction, searching for clues for a sign I had missed. Was it a boy, drugs, or something far more sinister? The possibilities swirled in my mind, each one more terrifying than the last. Our once open and honest family dynamic was replaced by suspicion and unspoken anxieties. Mark, though still trying to maintain a semblance of normalcy, also began to show signs of strain. His usual cheerful demeanor was replaced by a furrowed brow and a quiet contemplation. We were both walking on eggshells, afraid to disturb the fragile peace, yet desperate to uncover the truth. The silence, once unsettling, was now deafening, a constant reminder of the growing distance between us and our daughter. It was a silence that spoke volumes. A prelude to the storm that was brewing just beneath the surface of our seemingly perfect lives. I knew deep down that this was just the beginning. The unraveling had begun, and I was about to discover just how fragile our family truly was. The fear was a cold knot in my stomach, a premonition of the dark secrets that were about to be revealed. I just didn't know how dark they would be. Part 2. The hidden diary. The tension in our home became a palpable entity. A suffocating blanket that settled over every room. Sofia's evasiveness escalated, and her late-night excursions became more frequent, more brazen. My attempts to connect with her were met with icy stares or explosive outbursts. One afternoon, while cleaning her room, a task she usually guarded fiercely, I stumbled upon it. Tucked beneath a pile of discarded art supplies, hidden inside a hollowed-out book, was a small, leather-bound diary. My heart pounded in my chest. I knew instinctively that this was a violation of her privacy, a betrayal of trust. But the fear The gnawing anxiety outweighed my moral compass. I had to know. My hands trembled as I opened the worn pages. The first few entries were typical teenage musings, crushes, school drama, complaints about chores. But then the tone shifted. The handwriting became frantic, the words scrawled with an urgency that sent shivers down my spine. She wrote about a new friend, a boy named Leo. At first, it was innocent, shared interests, late-night chats. But soon, the entries grew darker. Leo was older, she wrote, and he understood her in a way no one else did. He made her feel alive, powerful, seen. He introduced her to a world I couldn't fathom, a world of illicit parties, whispered secrets, and dangerous thrills. My blood ran cold as I read about the risks she was taking, the boundaries she was crossing. There were mentions of strange substances, of money changing hands, of threats. One entry, in particular, made my stomach clench with dread. Leo says, "I'm special." He says I can do anything. He needs me for something big, something that will change everything. The words blurred before my eyes. My Sofia, my sweet, innocent Sofia, was entangled in something far more sinister than I could have ever imagined. The diary fell from my trembling hands. It's a perfect mosaic of our family. Didn't just have a crack. It was shattered into a million pieces. The silence that had once filled our home was now replaced by the deafening roar of my own fear. I felt a profound sense of failure, a crushing weight of guilt. How could I have been so blind? I have missed the signs. Mark found me later, hunched over the diary, tears streaming down my face. He read the entries, his face paling with each word. The shock, the disbelief, the anger. It was all mirrored in his eyes. We were united in our horror, but also in our desperation. We had to save our daughter before it was too late. The diary was a Pandora's box, and its contents had unleashed a storm that threatened to consume us all. The innocent silence of our home was gone, replaced by the chilling echoes of a secret life, a life that was spiraling out of control. The fight for our family, for our daughter, had just begun. Part 3. The confrontation and the lie. The diary's revelations hung heavy in the air between Mark and me, a suffocating cloud of fear and disbelief. We spent hours poring over its pages, piecing together the fragments of Sofia's secret life. The more we read, the clearer it became. Leo wasn't just a bad influence. He was a predator, manipulating Sofia, drawing her deeper into a dangerous web. We knew we couldn't delay. We had to confront her. But how? The Sofia we knew, the sweet, open girl, seemed to have vanished, replaced by a defensive, angry stranger. We decided on a calm, measured approach, hoping to appeal to the daughter we remembered. That evening, when Sofia returned from school, we sat her down. The air was thick with unspoken tension. "Mark, ever the calmer of us," started Sofia. "We need to talk. We're worried about you." Her eyes, usually so expressive, immediately hardened. "Worried about what?" "I'm fine." I took a deep breath, the diary clutched in my hand. "Sofia, we found this." I laid this small leather-bound book on the coffee table between us. Her face, which had been defiant, drained of all color. A flicker of raw panic crossed her features before being quickly masked by a furious glare. "You went through my things. How could you? That's an invasion of my privacy." Her voice rose, trembling with a mixture of anger and fear. "We had to, Sofia," I pleaded, my voice cracking. "We're your parents. We saw what you're writing in here. This boy, Leo, the things you're involved in. It's dangerous." Mark chimed in, his voice firm but gentle. "We just want to understand, sweetheart. We want to help you." But Sofia wasn't listening. Her eyes were fixed on the diary, then on us, a desperate calculation in their depths. "It's not what you think," she burst out, her voice shrill. "It's just stories. I'm writing a novel. A dark, dramatic novel. Leo is a character. All of it is fiction." My heart sank. "A novel? The detailed descriptions, the raw emotions, the fear that practically bled from the pages, it was too real to be fiction. But her performance was convincing, almost too convincing. Launched into an elaborate explanation, weaving a tale of a creative writing project, of exploring dark themes for artistic expression. She even cried, tears streaming down her face as she accused us of not trusting her, of stifling her creativity. Mark, ever the logical one, looked at me, a flicker of doubt in his eyes. Could it be? Was my fear clouding my judgment? Was she truly just a talented, albeit dramatic writer? But I knew, every fiber of my being screamed that she was lying. The fear in her eyes when I first showed her the diary, the way she had flinched, it wasn't the reaction of a budding novelist, caught in a harmless act. It was the terror of someone whose deepest, darkest secrets had been exposed. Yet, what could I do? She had built an impenetrable wall of denial, and any further accusation would only push her further away. We were at an impasse. We pretended to believe her, offering hesitant apologies for invading her privacy, for misinterpreting her art. She accepted our apologies with a chillingly practiced grace, a triumphant glint in her eyes. But the lie hung in the air, a poisonous gas, slowly seeping into the foundations of our family. I watched her retreat to her room, the diary clutched tightly in her hand, and I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that the real story was far from over. The confrontation had failed, and Sofia was now more guarded than ever. The battle for our daughter had just become infinitely more complicated. Part 4. The Shadow of Leo, Sofia's elaborate lie, though outwardly accepted, did nothing to quell the storm raging within me. If anything, it intensified my resolve. I couldn't shake the image of her terrified face when I first presented the diary, or the chillingly practiced grace with which she spun her tale of fiction. My daughter was in danger, and I was not going to stand by and watch. Mark, despite his initial flicker of doubt, eventually came around to my conviction. The subtle shifts in Sofia's behavior, the continued secrecy, and the lingering scent of something illicit that occasionally clung to her clothes were undeniable. We knew we had to find out more about Leo. Our first step was discreet investigation. We started with her phone, a device she guarded with her life. While she was in the shower one morning, I quickly scrolled through her recent calls and messages. Most were mundane, but a recurring number saved under a generic name caught my eye. Quick search online revealed nothing. It was a burner phone, or at least a number not easily traceable. Next, we turned to her social media. Her public profiles were carefully curated, showcasing a typical, happy teenager. But I remembered a fleeting glimpse of a different profile on her laptop once, a more private one. After several attempts, I managed to guess the password. What I found there was a chilling confirmation of my worst fears. Photos of Sofia at parties I knew nothing about, surrounded by older, unfamiliar faces. Pictures of her holding what looked like drug paraphernalia. And then there was Leo. He was older, perhaps in his early 20s. With a predatory smirk and eyes that seemed to hold a cold, calculating intelligence. He was always at the center of the group, a puppet master pulling strings. We decided to try a different approach. Instead of confronting Sofia directly, we would try to learn more about Leo. Mark, using his connections from work, managed to get a private investigator's contact. Mr. Davies was a gruff, no-nonsense man with tired eyes and a reputation for getting results. We showed him the photos of Leo and explained our concerns. He listened patiently, his expression unreadable, then simply nodded. "I'll see what I can find." The next few days were agonizing. Every phone call, every knock at the door sent my heart racing. We were living in a constant state of anxiety, a silent vigil for news that could either confirm our fears or offer a glimmer of hope. Then the call came. Mr. Davies' voice was grim. "Your daughter's friend, Leo? His real name is Leonard Hayes. He's got a record: petty theft, assault, and a few drug-related charges. He's known to associate with a local gang, the Shadow Vipers. They're involved in drug distribution, extortion, and human trafficking. The last two words hit me like a physical blow: human trafficking. My vision blurred, and the room spun. My Sofia, caught in the clutches of something so monstrous. It was unthinkable, a nightmare beyond my darkest imaginings. Mark grabbed my hand, his face ashen. "Are you sure, Mr. Davies?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Positive," came the curt reply. "He targets vulnerable teenagers, gets them hooked, then uses them for his operations. Your daughter fits the profile." The phone clattered from my hand. The lie, the novel, the artistic expression, it was all a desperate smokescreen. Sofia wasn't just experimenting. She was trapped. The silence in our home was now filled with the echoes of Mr. Davies' words, a chilling symphony of dread. We had to act, and we had to act fast. The shadow of Leo, once a vague threat, had now materialized into a terrifying reality, and it was closing in on our daughter. The fight for Sofia had just escalated into a desperate race against time. Part 5. The Desperate Plan. The revelation of Leo's true nature and his connection to human trafficking sent shockwaves through our already fractured family. The fear I had felt before was nothing compared to the icy grip of terror that now squeezed my heart. Sofia wasn't just in trouble. She was in mortal danger. Couldn't go to the police immediately. Mr. Davies had warned us that any sudden move could put Sofia at even greater risk. These gangs were ruthless, and if they suspected she was a liability, there was no telling what they might do. We had to be strategic, careful, and above all, quick. Our desperate plan began to form, born out of a mother's primal need to protect her child. Our first step was to gather more concrete evidence. The diary, while damning to us, might not be enough for law enforcement. We needed something that directly linked Leo to his illicit activities, something that would prove Sofia was a victim, not an accomplice. Mark, with his background in it, began to meticulously comb through Sofia's digital footprint. He installed discrete monitoring software on our laptop, hoping to intercept any communications with Leo or his associates. It felt wrong, a further invasion of her privacy, but the stakes were too high. I, meanwhile, focused on observing Sofia. I watched her every move, every interaction, trying to discern patterns. Looking for any opportunity to intervene, she was more withdrawn than ever, her eyes haunted, her movements almost robotic. The vibrant girl I knew was gone, replaced by a shell of her former self. It broke my heart to see her like this, but I knew I had to be strong for her. One evening, I overheard her on the phone, her voice barely a whisper. "I can't. I just can't do it, Leo. Please." A pause, then his voice, a low, menacing growl, even through the phone. "You owe me, Sofia. You know what happens if you don't. Deliver." My blood ran cold. Deliver what? My mind raced, trying to connect the dots. Later that night, I saw her slip out of the house, a small, nondescript package clutched in her hand. This was it. This was our chance. I quickly woke Mark, and we followed her, keeping a safe distance. She led us to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town, a place that reeked of decay and desperation. Through a cracked window, we saw her meet Leo. He snatched the package from her, his eyes gleaming with a sinister satisfaction. Then he pushed her roughly, and she stumbled, almost falling. My maternal rage flared, but Mark held me back. "Not yet, Alina. We need more." As we watched, a group of men emerged from the shadows, their faces hard and unforgiving. Leo handed them the package, and in return, they gave him a thick wad of cash. It was a drug deal, plain and simple. But then one of the men gestured towards Sofia, and Leo nodded. My heart stopped. They were talking about her. Were they going to hurt her? Take her? The thought was unbearable. Just as I was about to burst, A police siren wailed in the distance. The men scattered, vanishing into the night. Leo, cursing under his breath, shoved Sofia towards a waiting car. "Get in now," he hissed. She hesitated, her eyes wide with terror, then scrambled into the vehicle. The car sped off, leaving us standing in the darkness, our hearts pounding. We had seen enough. We had the evidence, but Sofia was gone. The desperate plan had yielded results, but at what cost? The race against time had just become a frantic sprint, and the finish line was nowhere in sight. We had to find her, and we had to do it before Leo and his gang could inflict any more damage. The night was long, and the fear was a constant companion, but our resolve was stronger than ever. We would get our daughter back, no matter what it took. Part 6. The unveiling and the aftermath. The wail of the distant siren had been our salvation, scattering Leo and his crew, but it had also been our undoing, as Sofia was whisked away into the night. The police arrived moments later, drawn by the same siren that had alerted us. Explained everything: the diary, the surveillance, the drug deal, and the terrifying implication of human trafficking. The officers, initially skeptical, grew increasingly grim as we recounted the details, especially when we mentioned the Shadow Vipers. They knew the gang, and they knew their ruthlessness. A full-scale investigation was launched, and the next few hours were a blur of questions, statements, and the chilling realization that our daughter was now a missing person. Entangled in a criminal underworld. Days turned into a week, each hour an eternity. The house, once filled with the unsettling silence, was now a tomb of agonizing anticipation. Mark and I barely slept, haunted by images of Sofia, by the fear of what she might be enduring. The police kept us updated, but their progress was slow. Leo and his associates had vanished, leaving no trace. We clung to every shred of hope, every potential lead, our lives consumed by the desperate search. Then a call came. It was Mr. Davies. He had a lead, a tip from an informant. Leo was planning to move Sofia, along with other victims, across the border. The exchange was set for that night at a remote warehouse near the old industrial park. We immediately relayed the information to the police, who mobilized a tactical unit that night. Under the cover of darkness, we waited. The air was thick with tension, the silence broken only by the crackle of police radios. Suddenly, a flurry of activity. Sirens wailed, tires screeched, and shouts echoed through the night. The police raided the warehouse. We heard muffled screams, the thud of bodies, and then a single piercing cry that I knew with every fiber of my being was Sofia's. We rushed forward, pushing past the officers, our hearts in our throats. Inside, it was chaos. Figures wrestled in the dim light, and the air was thick with the smell of dust and fear. And then I saw her. Sofia huddled in a corner, her face streaked with tears and grime, her eyes wide with terror. She was alive. I rushed to her, pulling her into my arms, sobbing with relief. Mark joined us, and for a moment, we were a family again. Broken, but together. Leo was apprehended, along with several of his associates. The police found other victims, young girls and boys, terrified but safe. The aftermath was long and arduous. Sofia was traumatized, a shadow of her former self. Therapy became a regular part of our lives, a slow, painful process of healing and rebuilding trust. She confessed everything: the manipulation, the threats, the fear that had driven her to lie and to participate in Leo's schemes. It wasn't just about drugs. Leo had been grooming her, preparing her for something far worse. The unveiling of this truth was devastating, but also a crucial step towards her recovery. Our family was irrevocably changed. The perfect mosaic was shattered, but in its place, a new, stronger bond began to form, forged in the fires of adversity. We learned to communicate, to truly listen, and to confront the uncomfortable truths that had festered beneath the surface. Sofia is still healing, and the scars of her ordeal will likely remain. She is alive, she is safe, and she is slowly, painstakingly finding her way back to herself. The secret life she led, the dramatic story of a child caught in a web of deceit and danger, became a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the unwavering love of a family. We may never fully recover the innocence we lost, but we gain something far more valuable, a deeper understanding of each other, and an unbreakable commitment to face any future challenges together. The family secrets had been exposed. The dramatic story had unfolded, and we as a family had survived. We were bruised, but not broken, and ready to face whatever the future held, hand in hand.